Do you live or die based on one game this weekend, week 9 for the Rams? I think you do. This is RamView. Live from the RamCave, I'm Judge Rosen, and this is RamView, the October 30th, 2024 edition, brought to you by Kistler Law Firm. Injured in an auto accident, need help, got questions? Call Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. That's Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. And check out KistlerLawFirm.com. That's one word, KistlerLawFirm.com. Kistler Law, they've been fighting for you since 92. And by Temple City Auto Repair, having some auto issues, get yourself some John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. And of course, by Benched, the app. You don't ever have to take another goose egg, never have to take another zero. If you leave a starting player who is not starting on your fantasy lineup, Bench the app takes care of that for you. Download Bench the app today. Okay, so yeah, what I meant at the top is what I mean at the top. This is the one that really matters, right? This is why you do all those things. You know, to borrow Bill Parcells' great line, fellas, this is why you work all off season. This is why you lift all those weights. This is a game that you have to have. This is the game you have to have because it's the NFC West. It's the interstate called the NFC West Interstate, not the wild card interstate, that's going to get you to where you want to be in terms of the Super Bowl, in terms of the playoffs. And so the Rams do have to win this week. They do. The good news is McVay's had a lot of success in Seattle. The Rams have had success in Seattle, including 2 playoff wins in Seattle. So, and every Ram game is a road game anyway for the Rams, so they're used to crowds. You got an experienced quarterback. You have a good Seahawks team, but this is the opportunity that you really have to. You don't win those 2 games. Those 2 games the Rams have won allowed them to be in this position, but this is the one that counts. It really counts, and it does determine the season. Is it all over if the Rams lose? No, but it becomes a lot less likely. That means you would have 3 other division opponents, and you'd be 1-2 within the division, right? Not good. Right now, the Rams are 1-1 with a victory over the 49ers, a disaster against the Cardinals, and now you've got the Seahawks this week and an opportunity, and you got them at a perfect time. They're reeling a little bit, bad loss at home, some action on the sideline. They've lost 3 of their last 4. So, yeah, this is opportunity, and they have not been perfect at home, right? They've lost to the Giants at home. They lost to the Bills at home. So they haven't been perfect, and we'll get into that. Okay, let's get to some Ram stuff real quick here. According to McVay, in a very brief moment in this press conference, you could hear a reporter off the side asking about the status of Avila, Jackson, and Johnson. That's Steve Avila, Jonah Jackson, and John Johnson. And McVay at this moment said we shouldn't expect any change in their status. So that means they're likely out for this week. They're not going to get put into the window. They remain on the IR. Kind of hoping for one of those guys to come back, but Rams get Noteboom back. There you go. You got some depth along the offensive line. Looking at this Rams team going forward right now, I know we love the offense, and everyone's talking about Puka, and everyone's talking about Kupp and Kyron Williams. And I talk a lot about the offensive line, but what probably has me the most excited about the Rams right now has been the play in the secondary. The cornerbacks, Darius Williams and Kobe Durant, have been fantastic. Are we talking Lester Hayes and Mike Haynes? No, we're not talking that. I don't even know if we're definitely not talking Rod Perry and Pat Thomas. Maybe we're talking Eddie McMillan and Charlie Stukes. Maybe we're talking that. But right now, Darius Williams is playing well, and so is Kobe Durant. And when we talk about Ram free agents that haven't panned out, right? Still don't know about Cam Curl. Jonah Jackson hasn't played. Trey White, it's not working out so well. But Darius Williams, coming back from the hamstring, has played well. And he's brought some stability to that secondary, and Kobe Durant has fed off it. And then, unfortunately, but fortunately, as the team has struggled, as John Johnson went down, Quentin Lake moved to safety. And I think it allows the Rams to do something different with Cam Curl. And Trey Wright was removed from the lineup. Cam Kitchens was removed from the lineup, even though John Johnson got hurt. Josh Wallace, Jalen McCullough have stepped up. And if you want to notice something, since week 4, those big plays, we did have the big play against the Packers. I think that was the last one, but the big plays have kind of disappeared and dried up. And I think a lot of that has to do with Quentin Lake. And of course, I do believe the play of the corners. So this is amazing that the Rams also are getting clicks from UDFAs, undrafted free agents, rookie undrafted free agents like Josh Wallace and Jalen McCullough. So that is probably what's got me the most excited. I want to be excited about the defensive line. I'll always look for the positive on the offensive line. And, if I start praising, spending my time here doing nothing but praising Stafford, Kyron Williams, Nakua, Kupp, and all those guys, it becomes white noise because that's the easy part, right? But can you find good someplace else where everyone's not looking? Regarding Jordan Whittington, he's still kind of iffy. And of course, we all want Jordan Whittington back. But if the Rams have depth currently anywhere, it is in that wide receiver room, which means you got your 3 guys. You got D-Rob at number 3, Kupp number 2, Nakua number 1, and then you got Tyler Johnson and Tutu Atwell. So you got 5 there without Whittington, right? Whittington's health also might play into the Rams having second thoughts if they're going to deal Tutu Atwell or include Atwell in a deal at the trade deadline to acquire some help. The Rams can make a move out of that department. Atwell seems like the perfect guy to do that with, along with some draft picks, so it's worth keeping an eye on. But if Whittington has anything that lingers, you got to wonder, are the Rams going to make that move? As I said about the offensive line, Joe Noteboom is expected back this week, but likely in a backup role. And that's the important thing. We all know it. McVay spoke about it. Continuity of the O-line being a factor, right? Alaric Jackson has gotten used to playing next to Justin Dedich. Bo Limmer has gotten used to playing next to Justin Dedich, and you love it when there's consistency on the line. They don't have to be the greatest offensive line ever, right? It doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be Callan, Mack, Iman, Shabelli, and John Williams. It can be Alaric Jackson, Justin Dedich, Bo Limmer, Kevin Dotson, Rob Havenstein for 3 or 4 weeks, as long as the team keeps progressing. And this will be the 3rd week in a row they're out there together. And I think that bodes well because the Seahawks defensive line is good, but they're not great. They're not great. They're not anything more imposing than what the Rams have seen this year. Again, I like to go through the Rams schedule. Rams are currently 3-4. This week, of course, they go to Seattle, who got worked by Buffalo. Then they get the Dolphins, the Patriots. They get the Dolphins at home, Patriots on the road, Eagles at home, Saints on the road. The Patriots and the Saints, those are, again, 2 games the Rams have to win. Those are the layups, right? Combined, the Saints and the Patriots are 4-12. Looks like Derek Carr is going to be back. Bills then, after the Saints in week 14, Bills at SoFi. So they get the Dolphins, Eagles, and Bills at SoFi. That's good. And then they go on the road to the 49ers, who are on bye this week, which comes at a perfect time. Tragedy there with the 49ers with Shavarius Ward losing his 1-year-old girl daughter. That's just an awful thing. I can't even describe how awful that is. And so our prayers do go with him there. They are getting Christian McCaffrey back. I think they've opened his window, and he should be back soon. And if he doesn't get hurt again, he should be on the field when the Rams and 49ers play in Levi in week 15. Then the Rams go get the Jets in week 16 in New York or Rutherford. But again, that's another layup game the way it looks right now. Combined, the Patriots, Saints, and Jets are 6-18. You can't give that away. You got to get those games. And then they got to get the Cardinals. They get the Cardinals in week 17, and that's a game you have to win. You want to go to the playoffs, you got to win that game. You want to go to the playoffs, you got to beat Seattle, right? And I think they're starting to deal with some issues there in terms of the reality of rookie head coach having to deal with things and his team. Not saying McDonald's a bad coach, but we saw that meltdown on the sideline. And so, yeah, those are just things you got to deal with. There's growing pains there. And they're still running Geno at quarterback. So if we look at the Rams right now, they're 3-4. Beat Seattle, they go to 4-4. Should they beat the Dolphins at home? I think they should beat the Dolphins at home. That's 5-4. Should they beat the Patriots? Yes, that's 6-4. The way the Eagles are playing right now, I'm going to give the Eagles the win, 6-5. Rams go to New Orleans, 7-5. Rams get the Bills at home. I'm going to go with the Bills, 7-6. Then it gets a little tricky. Can you beat the 49ers in Levi? Yes, I think they can, 8-6. I don't think their injuries, they're getting some players back, but other players are getting injured for the 49ers. So they'd be 8-6. And then you get the Jets in New York, 9-6. And then you got the Cardinals and the Seahawks. So there is room here. High ceiling here is the Rams could be 11-6. I think we predicted at the start of the year, they said high end for the Rams, 13-4, low end, 11-6. And I think they can still get to 11 wins, but they got to win the layup games and they got to win the division games, right? And I'm giving away the Eagles, I'm giving away the Bills, but we'll see about the Dolphins. Will they be back in stride when the Rams play them? So, all right. I appreciate you guys joining me. It is 5:15, and I can't believe I got an audience with the World Series going on. Thanks, guys, for hanging out. Rod, what up, Ramley? Thank you for being here. Guys, check out anytime you want. I appreciate it. You don't want to miss Freddie Freeman's home run. He always seems to homer in the first inning. Tim Burns, are we buyers? I think we should be. I think the Rams should be buyers at this time. I think the capital is there to make a move and shore up what they need to shore up. We know we've talked about the Bud Carson toilet clogger, maybe another off-ball linebacker. I saw an interesting one, and I'm trying to remember where I saw it. Was it Ramblin' Ram Fans, Turf Show Times, Rams Wire? I try to remember where I saw it, that maybe another edge rusher to complement Young and Verse, because Hoyt's playing really well. Hoyt's giving you exactly what you want a UDFA out of Brown to give you right now. And so, but maybe that other guy, Brennan Jackson's only played 9 snaps. Nick Hampton has been invisible. So, yeah, maybe the Rams do make a move there. I'd like to see a move there. And if they make a move for an offensive lineman, I'm going to be a little nervous about the future of Avila and Jonah Jackson. And so that makes me a little nervous. Steve Ramirez, playing hurt but ready to go with Dodgers audio on mute. All right, there we go. Tim, thank you, Steve. Tim Burns, as a Ram Stafford owns the Seahawks. Hey, when Stafford's upright, he owns just about everybody, right? We got a great quarterback. Enjoy it while we have it, right? Steve Ramirez, hoping to go back to 1979 to host Seattle to a -7 yards. I saw that game, Steve. You saw that game. I remember going into that game stressing because that was at the height of the Zorn Largent era. And if you remember, I don't know if people really remember what a madhouse the Kingdom was. It had all those noise decibel levels and everything. It was a loud place. It was a difficult place to play. And the Rams in that Super Bowl season just went in there and shut down a team like you had never seen the team get shut down before, right? And then again, that's the tragedy of those 70s Rams. Those defenses, and I know I'm going to say heresy, this is going to be heresy to Steeler fan Rob. If the Rams had picked off a Super Bowl, or, Eddie Brown doesn't blow coverage in Super Bowl 14, I think those 70 Rams get compared. I mean this all, they get compared to the Steel Curtain. That's how great those Rams defenses were, right? Steelers had Terry Bradshaw. Rams had every other broken down guy on the planet and the delusion of Pat Hayden. But yeah, I'm with you on that one, Steve. Tim Burns, we tend to have higher scores versus the Sea Skanks. Change their safeties, though. They're not paying 40 rocks a year combined to their safeties. It is a better team. And I think McDonald is making them a better defense right now. I'll take anything, right? I'll take anything. Tim Burns' prediction, Rams 38, Sea Urchins 24. I'll dance. I'm good. Bill, in order to make the playoffs, we have to start winning away games. Yeah, and I think that'll come. I mean, I don't think we lost in Chicago because we were in Chicago, even though that's been a house of horrors, right? We lost to Detroit, again, 1 score. Chicago, 1 score. And so, yeah, we do got to win road games, but that hasn't really factored into me yet that that's an issue because every game for the Ram is a road game, so to speak. Tim Burns, Noteboom adds time to throw. This is huge. If ready, Noteboom will help get us back to higher scoring. It was interesting. If he comes in and he's at left guard, that's fantastic. But it was interesting hearing McVay talk about how he loves the continuity on the offensive line. And Dedich might really have to struggle before Noteboom comes in. That would just something to keep an eye on and such. But yeah, I think I like Noteboom at guard better than at tackle. Anyway, we'll see. Rod, McCullough looks solid too. Jalen McCullough, what a revelation, right? UDFA out of Tennessee. He's just been great. His 3 picks, I believe he leads the Rams, right? Bill, Seahawks are terrible against the run. They're not good, right? They're okay, but they're not good, right? They're not an embarrassment. Rod, Lake is doing great. Yeah, Carnell Lake, right? This makes me worry about Carnell Lake. 3rd year, going into his 4th year next year. And that's why the window is now. Would the Rams break precedent and try to bring Carnell Lake back? I think Lake is so versatile that, like his old man, like Carnell Lake, he is somebody I'd really want the Rams to re-sign. Yeah, that'll be an interesting thing when it plays out. Tim Burns, if we buy, who is our target? What position do we look at? It's always, for me, it's the defensive line. I think I've been screaming that since the spring. It's the defensive line. Bobby Brown's been okay, but he's just a guy. Neville Gallimore, they're talking about him not playing because the stinger is just lingering with him. We're thin on the defensive line. It's got to be one of those guys. I think if you get a good run stuffer or good big fat body in there, toilet clogger in the center of that defensive line, I think you're going to be less upset with the play of our off-ball linebackers, right? I think things get a little bit easier for our off-ball linebackers. I remember people talking about when Siragusa left the Ravens, it took him a while for what's his name? Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the linebacker for the Ravens. Oh my gosh, what's his name? Ray Lewis. It took Ray Lewis a time to adjust. A mental blank. I should take some ginkgo biloba here. But Ray Lewis took him time to adjust after losing Goose. So I think if the Rams get that toilet clogger, our linebackers won't look as bad, right? That would be what I want. Let's see. Bill, do you think Noteboom plays left guard? I think the way McVay sounded, he wants the continuity to stay there. I got to imagine Justin Dedich will be on a short leash, and then we'll see. But he's supposed to be activated. He says Noteboom practice in full. The word is he's supposed to be ready to play. Willie Bowen, I have confidence in the LA Rams getting the victory in Seattle too. A lot of us do. I do too, Willie. I think they would. I do. Rod, yeah, this O-line did an awesome job against the Vikings. It really did. It really did. And the Vikings line is comparable or just a little bit better than the Seahawks line. Leonard Williams has played well for them, but he's not played great. And then Byron Murphy has missed some time. He's only got 1 sack. I know he's really talented. He could have his breakout game against the Rams. But as of right now, that hasn't really happened. They also got Jerron Reed, who's been there, who's a solid veteran. Tim Burns, how far do we have to go back to find a Rams O-line we didn't have to worry a lot about? Well, we go back to 2021, right? 2020, 17 and 18, they started the same players on that offensive line for 2 straight years. And then before that, it was a nightmare going back to the greatest show on turf era, right? We know what that is. Let's see here. Tim Burns, we beat Seattle. We have wins versus division teams that are worrisome. San Francisco and Seattle, I worry. Arizona, not so much. Arizona, man, 3 games they've won at the end of it, right? They beat Frisco at the very end of the field goal, Dolphins at the very end, and the Chargers, right? You got to believe, right? At some place that's going to crash and burn. But we saw this last year with Jonathan Gannon, right? We saw him as the head coach. We saw that after that, little energy burst they had with Josh Dobbs and they traded him, they never stopped playing hard. They kept playing hard, and they're playing hard now. I think they're ahead of schedule. I expected them to be trouble next year. They had a great draft. They've had a lot of injuries this year, but I still think they're a year away, and I don't trust Kyler. And I don't think I want to believe that this time around in week 17, when Jared Verse and Byron Young have Kyler Murray in their sights, they're not going to whiff on those tackles. Right? There we go. Rams own SC. Joe T Sports is legit. My man, thank you so much. I do appreciate that. That is really cool, especially when the Dodgers are playing. Thanks, guys. I do appreciate that. Rob Swords, that's Steeler fan Rob. Rams 7-10. Steeler fan Rob, you got problems of your own. You need another receiver. You only scored 19 points against the Giants. Yeah, your punt returner did that punt return. They made it 26. It was too close. It was too close. You still got issues on your offensive line. Najee Harris covers a multitude of sins. Hey, and Russell Wilson is good. You know, he's making throws that Justin Fields could never make. But Russell Wilson could also get banged up. I'd worry about my house there. I'd worry about my house. Tim Burns, how did you do on your picks last week, Joe? I finished 11-5. 11-5, right? Yeah, so I'm feeling pretty good. Rod, it's nice having this O-line depth stepping up, and we still down 2 offensive starters. Preach, right? So look at it this way. Dedich, undrafted free agent, he's a rookie. Bo Limmer, undrafted, 6th-round pick, and he's a rookie. So you got these guys under contract for another 3 years, right? Also, you look at the interior of the offensive line. Dotson was on a 3-year deal. Avila is still on his rookie contract that will end in 2026. You've got Jackson. Hopefully he comes back and he plays. He signed a 3-year deal. So the interior of the offensive line is set up for the next 3 years. That's why I talk about this is the Rams window, 24, 25, and 26. We'll see what happens with Stafford. I can't see Stafford playing beyond 26, and he might cost us a lot of dough next year, but we're seeing that he's really worth it. The question comes down to how long can Havenstein hold out, and how long can what do we do with Jackson? Is Jackson good enough? And right now, if you have any issues in terms of injuries or whatever, you've literally got Dedich and Bo Limmer, if they keep progressing, not only covering you, but also being there for you in 2027. A lot of experience here, right? This is good. Ideally, a lot of experience, and that they're still there. Everything's good. But that's the way it's shaking out, and it looks good. You have to think of this. Rams got off to a cataclysmic start, multiple injuries, but this is a Super Bowl window. Are they going to get by Detroit this year? Things, unfortunately, I think they win their division. I think they can. They've shown they can play with every team they've lost to. The only thing that's questionable is, can they beat Detroit? Here's the interesting thing about Detroit is if this Rams defense is playing the way it is now, I don't know if they lose in Detroit, right? If experience happens with Verse and Young, if Trey White's out of the lineup, Darius Williams is back, John Johnson's back. I think this defense is better than it was in week 1, and maybe some of those give-me plays that Jameson Williams got, maybe they aren't so give-me, and maybe the Rams win in Detroit. Detroit's the best team in the NFC right now. I'm not taking that away from them, but they don't have Aiden Hutchinson. It's going to be really curious to see what they do. I've heard talk about Zadarius Smith. I know I'm going off on tangents here, guy, but you got me juiced. I feel like I'm really caffeinated right now. Let's see. Tim Burns, Trump, 3 Dem assassins, 0. Okay. Trump. I got a funny joke about that. I don't know if I could tell it here, but I got a funny joke about some dark humor about that. Tim Burns, Ginkgo biloba. Yeah, I think I need it. I can't remember Ray Lewis's name. Rod, maybe bring in Vita Vea from the Bucks in a trade. Ooh, right? A little rental there with Vita Vea. I don't think he'd cost too much money because he's kind of winding down, but we're going to need the Bucks to suffer a little more. Bucks are 4-4 right now, and Mayfield's done a good job, but you know they lost their 2 key guys. When they lose Evans and you lose Chris Godwin, and Evans not going to be back till week 13, maybe the Buccaneers would be sellers. Ooh, Vita Vea. Nice thought there, Rod. Tim Burns. So does our young O-line play up to good teams or overlook bad ones? They didn't look good against the Raiders. According to PFF, they did, but they didn't look good against the Raiders, and they stepped up. I can't believe you would think of Seattle as a lesser team. The Raiders' record, their recent history, everything tells you they're not a good franchise. Seahawks is different. So I got to believe they're going to be up. And I got to believe McVay knows how to get his team ready to go play in Lumen Field. It is called Lumen Field, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. Cardinals are a sneaky good team. Yeah, I agree. I thought they were a year away. I think they're exceeding expectations, but the games the Rams lost by one possession, the 3 games the Rams have lost by one possession, are the 3 games the Cardinals have won by one possession, right? Just that's how much latitude you have in this league. Let's see. Tim Burns, the book is really good, Joe T. You have to do a book about RamView next. All right. You're mentioning game day in the RamCave. Thank you, Mr. Burns. You guys could help support us. We don't have a Patreon. We do not have a paywall. This book is supported by Kistler Law, our sponsor, and our key sponsor, and My Writing Books. And it allows me to keep doing my day job, where I pastor a small church in Burbank called Burbank Faith Nazarene. And you're right here on YouTube at Burbank Faith Virtual. If you're interested, please follow us, and follow us here. And you can follow us on Burbank Faith Virtual too, and Burbank Faith Virtual across social media. Tim Burns, Vita Vea is a great idea. Yes, it is a great idea. All right, let's look at around the NFL and other places real quick here. And we'll see what we got here. Not a whole lot right now. Ravens acquire wide receiver Deontay Johnson. That's a great move for them. His issue is keeping his head on straight, but that's a great move for them because I don't think Lamar Jackson and John Harbaugh are going to take much garbage, and he has an opportunity to rebuild his career. They got him for a 5th-round pick from Carolina, free at last to be liberated from Carolina. That's a really great deal. Cowboys get Deron Bland back, and that's a big deal because they're going to Atlanta, and so Deron Bland was the one that had 9 picks last year, 5 touchdown returns, set the record. And Steeler fan Rob is probably jazzed because they're getting Cam Sutton back from a personal conduct issue, which must have been pretty serious because he missed 8 games. Alaric Jackson missed 2, but Cam Sutton must have done something pretty serious. He missed 8 games, but the Steelers are getting him back, and I'm sure they're happy about that. Speaking of former Rams, the Jaguars signed Jake Funk to the practice squad. Good for Jake. He just won't go away. Jake McQuaid, on the other hand, the former Rams long snapper, was recently released by the Bears. His partner that he used to snap to via Johnny Hecker, Greg Zuerlein, had a bad week last week, and he had an injured knee. So he's on the IR for the Jets, and the Panthers have waived Russ Yeast. Poor Russ Yeast. I do like Russ Yeast. Let's look at those playoff pictures again. The division leaders currently in the NFC, the Lions, the Texans, the Falcons, and the Cardinals, right? Then behind them with the 3 playoff spots, the Packers at 6-2, they have a win over the Rams. They get the Lions this week. The Vikings are 5-2. They've lost to the Rams. They get the Colts. The Eagles are 5-2, and they play the Rams in week 12. They get the Jaguars this week. So what we really want to see happen is we want to see the Lions are 1 game up, and the Packers don't have Jordan Love, or Jordan Love's got a growing injury. So we want to see the Packers lose. We want to see the Vikings lose. We want to see the Lions, the Colts, and the Jaguars win. Now the Bears are playing the Cardinals. They do have a win over the Rams, the Bears do. But again, if we're thinking the Rams' path is through the NFC West, we want them to beat the Cardinals. Tampa Bay gets the Chiefs. Tampa Bay, the Rams don't play them this year. They're 4-4, and we need the Chiefs to beat them just to make sure they're not in the wild card hunt and make them more open to selling Vita Vea. Great call. You're right, Mr. Burns. It was a great call. And then the Seahawks get the Rams. They got 2 games against the Rams coming up, and then it's the Rams. So the Eagles got the last spot, and then the Rams still have the Bears, Buccaneers, 49ers, Seahawks all in front of them for a wild card spot. So the path to the playoffs is through the NFC West. Let's look at a couple more questions here. Tim Burns, Steelers are lucky. Steeler fan Rob let TJ out of his basement. He had a great week. Yeah, he did. Rod, we should beat the Packers and Bears for sure. Yeah, we should. Now, I tell you, I don't know. Given the Rams' record against the Packers the last 5 years, I do not want to go to Lambeau to play the Packers in the playoffs. And I definitely don't want to go to Chicago. I just don't. Every time we play in Chicago, I think I always feel like we lose to the more inferior team. And there's just something about being in Chicago that the Rams just get jacked up with, right? They just do. All right, tired of losing your fantasy games because you forgot to check your lineup with Bench the app? That's a thing of the past. Benched is the only app that ensures you never leave a non-starting player in your lineup. Don't miss out on crucial points, and don't be the one who forgot to bench a player on game day. Win your league, keep your pride, and let Bench the app handle the rest. Download Bench the app today and dominate your fantasy season. Right now, my fantasy season looks a lot like the Rams. I'm like 3-4 in one league and 4-3 in my other leagues. So, yeah, I could use some help there. Speaking of other places, those World Series heroes from last night are not heroes. I'm a quasi-temporary Dodger fan for Fernando's sake. But that was bad. The way that guy, they were holding Betts' wrist and pulling it out of the glove. That was just bad. I guess baseball said they're banned. I don't know if it's forever or just tonight. But that was terrible. The one thing I will ask Dodger fans, though, it's interesting. I know they went with a bullpen game. Did they have any other options than a bullpen game? That's what I'm asking because, just that weird stuff. They are the Yankees, and you don't want to give a team life. If Garrett Cole throws smoke tonight, right, and they actually let him throw 110 pitches, and he goes 7 innings or 8 innings, and the Yankees win, and it's 3-2 going back to L.A., who's the pressure on? The pressure's on L.A. And then who are they going? Are they going to go back with Buehler? Would it be too soon to go back to Buehler on Friday night after having him pitch on Monday? Probably too soon. Does Yamamoto need another day's rest, and you'd already thrown Flaherty? Could that game on Friday actually be another bullpen game for the Dodgers if this series extends to 6 games? And then, everything's a coin toss if you go to 7 games. So I'm just curious. I know some Dodger fans understood why after it got out of hand, you let Honeywell take the beating. Totally get it. But is there anything about, man, we should have figured out a way. We should have figured out something. Is there anything different they could have done? And I don't know, the way the whole thing's been set up, if they could have done anything different. So just my thoughts there. College football, I got Army at number 15. They're hosting Air Force. Illinois, number 14. They're hosting Minnesota. Missouri, number 13 is on bye. Kansas State, number 12 is at Houston. Number 11, Notre Dame is on bye. Number 10, Indiana. Anyone want to talk about Indiana Hoosier football? Unbelievable. They're 8-0, and they're going to Michigan State. 9, Clemson at 6-1. They host Louisville. 8, LSU. They're on bye. 7, Ohio State. They go to Happy Valley, and I think Penn State's going to really put the beating on the Buckeyes. Buckeyes were lucky to beat Nebraska this past week. Number 6, Alabama. They're on bye. Number 5, Miami. They're going to beat Duke. But I like Miami. I like Cam Ward. They're 8-0, but they're not exactly knocking off the creme de la creme of college football. Number 3 is Penn State. They're 7-0. They host Ohio State. Oregon's 8-0. They go to Michigan, where I think they could be upset. I think early on Oregon struggled, and Michigan's just one of those teams that could pull something in the big house. And then Georgia will win. I got them number 1. They'll beat Florida. USC is going to Washington. Both teams are 4-4. Nebraska hosts 2-5 UCLA. And there we go. All right. Let's see. Did more questions come in? Boom. Tim Burns, all bets are off with the Dodgers and player usage. Oral Hershiser closed the game while being a starter. Absolutely. Hey, Don Sutton's last appearance in his first iteration with the Dodgers was game 162 of the 1980 season, where the Dodgers needed to win that game to force a playoff. And it was Sutton who came in and picked up the save to close that out. Tim Burns, how does Bonnie go through life knowing everyone thinks he didn't earn his career? You know what? That's on Bronny a little bit, and it's on his dad. It's on them. You have to know what's good and what's not good, right? You just have to. It's mostly on his dad, but it's on him a little bit. I think his head got full of the idea of, hey, I played in the NBA, and I don't think in any real world we know he would be there. And I think it speaks to some narcissism on LeBron's part that it's like the Lakers or the league owes him something to allow him to do that. And I know JJ Redick has them off to a good start, but I doubt everything about this Laker franchise right now. Everything. I'm not a Laker fan anymore. I used to be. You want to challenge me on that? Go ahead. All right. Here we go. Let's keep looking at the thing here. Looking at the Seahawks. Seahawks are weird, right? Now, they beat the Broncos to open the season at home, 26-20. Young Bronco team, Bo Nix's first start, right? Then they beat the Patriots on the road, bad Patriot team, okay? Then they beat Miami at home without Tua, so they're 3-0. They go to Detroit, and they lose 42-29. Although they were competitive, they lost 42-29 to Detroit. Okay, that's not a crime to lose to Detroit. Then they lost to the Giants at home. The Giants. That part doesn't make any sense. And they go to 3-2. Then they lost to the 49ers at home. Okay, that makes a little bit of sense. It's the 49ers, you're 3-3. And this is where I got creamed that week. The following week, they go to Atlanta. Atlanta's this hot team. You got Kirk Cousins throwing for over 500 yards this year in a game, right? They're going to do great. Falcons are going to kill the Seahawks. No, the Seahawks kill the Falcons 34-14 on the road in Atlanta. And then they came home, and then they lost to the Bills 31-10. And that made sense, losing to the Bills. But they're 4-4, and this is not a great team. It's a good team. It's competitive, but it's not good. Charles Cross at left tackle's having a really good year. They're running Lake and Tomlinson there at left guard, and he's okay. Connor Williams is okay at center. Anthony Bradford's at right guard, and Abraham Lucas is still not back, and they've been starting I think they're going to start this week. I think it's going to be his third start. Mike Jarrell, he's like a 6th-round pick out of Findlay College, and he's massive, but he's their right tackle, and maybe he's going to develop into something, but that opens the door for those Rams edge rushers. Geno Smith's not a chump, and you have to respect him. He plays hard. He's got limitations, but he might have limitations, but when you add Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith-Njigba, DK Metcalf, who's a little questionable, but they expect him to play with an MCL strain, Noah Fant at tight end, Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet in the backfield. Even though Geno Smith is not great, the players around him can elevate him, so you have to respect what the Seahawks can do on offense. Defensively, grade-wise, against the run, as one of our people pointed out there, I think it was Rod. They're 24th against the run, according to PFF. They haven't been horrendous, but they can be run on. And any team the Rams can run on, which they did, they ran on everybody except the Raiders, that team's in trouble. Now, Leonard Williams anchors that line. We know he's been good throughout his career. Jaron Reed is solid. And then PFF, they have a note, looking at PFF's grading of Byron Murphy. He's somewhere ranked 39th out of 121 interior defenders. And he looks good. He's only got 1 sack. He's missed some games because of a hamstring, but you can see he's good. But Murphy is graded 39. Do you know who's graded number 32? Bobby Brown. Kobe Turner is graded number 29. Again, your PFF things, right? But he's not Aaron Donald, right? He could give you some trouble, but he's not Aaron Donald. He's not Javon Hargrave, right? He's not Chris Jones. He's good, and he's a rookie. Maybe he'll become that, but he's not that now, and that creates opportunity for the Rams. Looking at the Seahawks linebackers, no one is going to be more motivated than Ernest Jones. He's going to be flying all over the field. And he played the Bills again last week because I think he played him his last week in Tennessee. He played him his first week against Seattle, so he knows what's going on. He's going to be all over the field. He's going to be looking for some redemption. He's going to be looking to stir the pot, not with a bad attitude, but he's going to be looking to stir our pot because people are going to be saying, "Oh, you never should have traded Ernest Jones. Never should have traded Ernest Jones." Yada yada yada. Okay, that happened back in September, August. Okay, it's over. He's gone. Bingo. But he's had a pretty decent year, not a great year. And then the other linebacker is Terrell Dotson. He was a free agent from the Bills, and he's having a pretty decent year. They can run. These linebackers can run and are good, pretty good in coverage. The Seattle secondary is playing well. Tariq Woolen has had a bounce back. He had a bad sophomore year. This year, he's played well. Devon Witherspoon, we know, is excellent. Trey Brown is their other guy. He's their boundary corner, I believe, and he would be the matchup. The matchup for him would be on Demarcus Robinson, and so that's an opportunity for him. I don't know if he's the boundary. I'll have to check that. Kobe Bryant moved from cornerback to safety, and he's paired along with Julian Love, who's been very good this year in the secondary. They did a good move, man. They ran Quandre Diggs and Jamal Adams back there way too long, paid them way too much money, and I think this move by McDonald and the franchise to move off those guys really helped them. If Seattle's going to hurt the Rams, it's going to be off the edge. Derek Hall has 5 sacks and a high motor, but he hasn't had a sack since week 5, right? Boye Mafe has had 17 sacks in the last 2 seasons combined. He can get to you. So those guys can get to you, but are they at the level of Aiden Hutchinson, Montez Sweat, Nick Bosa, Max Crosby? Do you know what the Rams did against Aiden Hutchinson, Max Crosby, Montez Sweat, and Nick Bosa? Those 4 guys, the Rams only gave up 3 sacks. 1 to Hutchinson, 1 to Sweat, and 1 to Crosby. That's all they've done. With all the issues on their offensive line this year, those elite pass rushers, the guys that are going to be making – Hutchinson's not making it yet, but he's going to. But in the 30 rock zone, the 25 to 30 rock zone, those guys only got 3 sacks against the Rams. So while they can hurt us on the edge, I don't know if they're anything that this Ram defense offensive line can't handle. Just, again, something to think about. Byron Murphy is the only one of their draft picks to really contribute this year. The other one was pick 207, Mike Jarrell, out of Findlay College. I don't even know if that's Division II, and he's playing right tackle. So Rams have a shot this week, and they need to take it in Seattle. All right, Rod. At least Rams know Ernest Jones' weaknesses and can take advantage of it. Yeah, and other thing I also believe is in terms of signals, in terms of play calling, in terms of things, I do believe McVay is smart enough to change things around. I think Stafford's smart enough to change things around to take away any advantage that Jones might have had in knowing cadence, knowing signal calls, and everything. So that's good. Tim Burns. Let's see here. Tim Burns. Thanks for doing the show, Joe T. The knowledge of Rams lore is amazing. Well done, sir. Oh man, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, guys. Be sure to hit like and subscribe. Again, Dodger game is going. I can see everyone's getting ready to watch the Dodger game. That's cool. Let's get through week 9. Thursday, Texans are at the Jets in the Aaron Glenn Bowl. Houston is missing a bunch of receivers. Tank Dell was a little banged up, but he's not on their injured list. Nico Burns is out. Stephon Diggs is lost for the year. Still, the Texans should win this game against the Jets. I keep wanting to say the Meadowlands. Cowboys, Falcons in the Tony Casillas Bowl. Dallas doesn't have the firepower to compete with Atlanta, even though Deron Bland is back. Falcons should be able to handle the Cowboys. Broncos, Ravens in the Joe Flacco Bowl. Broncos are playing better, but Baltimore is not going to whiff 2 in a row. And Denver will make a good showing, but the Ravens win this game. Dolphins at the Bills, the Troy Vincent Bowl. Have to believe the Dolphins will be better, but the Bills right now are the better team. So go Bills in that one. Saints, Panthers, the Sam Mills Bowl. That's the proverbial if a tree falls in the forest, does anyone know? I think Carolina gets it together long enough at home to get the win, and everyone's still going to wonder why Alvin Kamara extended with New Orleans. But he could have probably gotten traded and gone someplace else. Raiders at Bengals in the Max Montoya Bowl. Remember Max Montoya? He was that other guy, and that next to Anthony Munoz there in Cincy. But just as Vegas, every time they seem to be going down, they grab something to keep from drowning. This shouldn't be one of those games, but it feels like it could be one of those games, right? And if it does happen, Zach Taylor goes officially on the clock to get fired if the Bengals fall to 3-6 and they lose to the Raiders. I don't think the Bengals are going to fall to 3-6. I think they beat the Raiders just because the Raiders they don't have a starting quarterback. I like Gardner Minshew. I like him, but he's a backup. He's a really good backup quarterback, and when he plays in long stretches, he gets exposed. Chargers 4-3 go to Cleveland. The Eric Metcalf Bowl. I think the Bolts win, but they can't take Cleveland lightly. Winston actually makes them more dangerous than Deshaun Watson ever had. And unless they start unloading some defensive players in the sell-off, which I think they should, but until that happens, they're playing some really good defense right there in Cleveland, and could give the Chargers some fits. So they better keep their heads about them there at the Mistake by the Lake. Not the Mistake by the Lake. I think they tore that place down. Taxkins and Giants, the Sam Huff Bowl. Taxkins will hit a rough stretch soon, but it won't be this week. They should beat the Giants. Patriots and Titans, the Mike Vrabel Bowl. New England wouldn't screw this up, would they? I mean, they should beat the Titans, right? Titans are bad. I mean, they're just really bad. Bears at the Cardinals, the Jim McMahon Bowl. It looks like a wild card playoff game to me. It really does. That's how it feels. I think Cardinals probably know this too, that, hey, man, if we don't win the division, we got to make sure we chip away at some of these guys that are wild card potentials, which would the Bears would be. Bears aren't going to win the North, but that could be a wild card team. So, I would have taken the Bears if not for this last week and the disaster there. And the Cards continue to win thrillers. So this one's kind of a hard one to call. It really is. But you know what? I'm going to go Cardinals on this one. I want the Bears to win, but I'm going to go Cardinals. I'm going to go Cardinals. I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong. Jaguars and Eagles in the Gardner Minshew Bowl. I think everybody is waiting for Nick Sirianni's next gaffe or loss or disaster. I just don't think it will happen. He'll probably have a gaffe or something, but Philly won't lose this game. Lions, Packers in the Tobin Rote Bowl. If Jordan Love isn't practicing and he's not playing, it's really easy to lean Detroit. And Ram fans, Detroit's 6-1, Packers are 6-2. We want Detroit to win this game. Let them just take the NFC North and let them have home field advantage. So if the Rams, when they play the NFC title game, have to play any place, they're playing in Detroit indoors and not playing at the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. Makes sense? So let's root for the Lions here. I do like the Lions with the Packers without Jordan Love. Rams, Seahawks in the Jeff Kemp Bowl. Road games are no big deal for the Rams. They've won in Lumen before, and they're catching the Seahawks at a perfect time with a rookie HC. Right now, my thought was 21-17 Rams. I'll give a final prediction on Friday. Sunday night, Colts, Vikings in the Gary Quazzo Bowl. Indy made the move, right? We talked about making the move. Do you want to win or do you want to develop a quarterback? You develop Anthony Richardson, who probably is not that guy anyway. You're going to lose out on a season. You're going to waste a year. Quentin Nelson and some of these other Pittman and these other receivers and Jonathan Taylor, you're going to waste years of their career. So why not go with the guy that allows you to win now, allows you to maybe get into the playoffs and maybe see what happens from there. Go with Joe Flacco. They made the move to Flacco. However, with that move, I still think Minnesota is a better talent and they're at home and they win. And then the Buccaneers and Chiefs on Monday night on the Steve DeBerg Bowl. Foolish to pick against the Chiefs. Tampa's banged up. Again, it's just foolish to pick against the Chiefs. And I love laughing how everyone talks about how Patrick Mahomes is not having a good year. Every time the game's on the line, he seems really good to me. And that's all that matters, right? That's all that matters. Okay, guys. I think we got about 50 minutes in. You guys hung with me. I can't believe you hung with me. Thank you for hanging with me. Rod, love your show. Thank you, Rod. I do appreciate it. If Bengals lose, let's go get Hendrickson. Yeah. Right? Yeah, that guy's multo dinero, though. I think they just re-signed him. He's one of the few players, I think, since he re-signed. But I do, Rod, if that was you, I'm trying to remember who was the guy that came up with the Vita Vea. I'm scrolling back up here because the Vita Vea thing was a great call. I'm going to go look up his contract status and everything. Who said, was that you, Rod, that said Vita Vea? Because I thought that was a really good call. So good thing to keep an eye on. Yeah, that was you, Rod. Good call. Okay, guys, any other questions you want to throw at me? I'm happy to stick around for one more minute. And then, hey, we're off to see the Dodgers Yankees because I'm very curious. The Dodgers gave them a little bit of life. And if this series goes back to LA, all the pressure's on the Dodgers. Yeah, you said Vita Vea. That's awesome. And thanks for the props, guys. I do appreciate it. Okay, so let's get out of here. Let's go to the baseball game, and let's see you on Friday. Be sure to subscribe, tell your friends to subscribe, leave comments, and share. God bless. Check out my book on Amazon. God bless. Take care. Bye, guys.